Start. So get a new, and then make a standard IPT part. It should load. I'll give you some time for you guys to load in. We're going to start off by starting a 2D sketch on the XZ plane over here. And we're just going to make a 5x5 cube. So go to rectangle, hit the, make sure your cursor turns green as you hover over the yellow dot. Go to dimension, make this 5 inches by 5 inches. It looks like most of us are here. I mean, this is just all review, so I'm gonna go pretty fast. So I'm gonna finish the sketch, and I'm gonna extrude this by 5 inches. So I'm just gonna extrude this cube or this plane by 5 inches, so it makes a 5x5 cube. I'm gonna hit OK, I'm gonna go home. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make planes. So to start off, we're gonna hit this plane button up here. And we're gonna click this surface, and then I wanna go to this cube and hit the opposite side of the cube. And you see when I do that, it makes a plane that's in the middle of the two faces. So I'm gonna click that, and it made a new plane, a work plane, in the middle of these two surfaces. And what it allows me to do is I can now create sketches not only on these faces of the cube, but I can also make a sketch on this work plane. So I'm gonna go to this plane up here, I'm gonna click it, I'm gonna click this surface here, and then I'm gonna go to the cube, go to the other side of it, and then hit the exact opposite surface. And what you should see is you should see a mid plane in between. So I click that, and you see how I put a plane in the middle of these two faces. So once we have two planes, we can make an axis that goes through the cube. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go next to plane, to the right of it, there's something called axis. So I'm gonna click it, and then I'm gonna click these two planes. And then what that did is it made an axis through the two planes. So now we have these two planes and an axis. We can create a new sketch on one of these new planes that we made. I think everyone is 21. Okay. So I'm gonna click on one of these planes, and then I should have this button that pops up, and it should say create sketch. So I'm gonna create a sketch on one of the planes. You couldn't hear and how you get access. Okay, so I'm gonna exit out of the sketch here. Delete it. If you guys don't have access or you can't find it, you can just go on the search help and commands menu up here and then type in axis, and it should show up. So I can click here, and then now I have the same thing again. So if you can't find it, then you can just search it up in the search bar. So you click on the plane that you just made. So I'm just going to click on work plane 6 because that's the one closest to me. And then I'm going to click it. And then once you click it, it should highlight blue, and you should get this pop up. And then there should be like a little pencil and a line. And then if you click on that, it will create a new sketch on that plane. Once we make the sketch, you can go to line and then hover over it. And then you should have a green highlight when you intersect between the axis, this orange axis, and this black line. And it should snap in position, and it should turn green. So click that and pull it out. The dimensions don't really matter right now because we're just going to dimension this entirely later. So, and then when I pull this last line back to the center, there should be a dashed line that appears and it should snap into place. I'm going to click it and then go to the top. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start dimensioning this now because it has no dimensions. It can be dragged around anywhere. So we don't want that. So I'm going to go to dimension and then I'm going to click this line and this back line here. And then I'm going to make it 3.25 inches. So once I've made the L, I made this top line, I clicked this line and this line, and I made it 3.25 inches across. So now we're going to go to dimension again, unless you have already selected. I'm going to select this line right here, and I'm going to make it 1 inch. So still in dimension, I can dimension this little overhang to 1.25 inches. And the distance from the top and the bottom here to be 4.75 inches. So it should look something like this. I'm gonna drag it out so it looks a bit nicer, like that. Okay, does everyone have something that is a fully constrained L shape? You should not be able to move it around or anything. Yep, okay. So we're gonna do something new here. We're gonna use the mirror function in Sketch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click mirror. I'm gonna select, and then I'm gonna highlight everything here. So once you highlight it, they should all turn blue. So I'm just gonna edit the sketch I was just in. I'm gonna go to mirror, highlight everything, select the mirror line, and then hit apply, and then done. And then once you do that, you should have the L shape, but it should be mirrored across up here. Okay, it looks like we're all here. So we're just gonna finish this sketch, go home, and now we're gonna use the Revolve function. So I'm gonna click Revolve, and I'm gonna select my profiles as the two L's that we just made, and the axis as the line, this line right here. And then once you do that, it should revolve across. It's like a dumbbell but thick. Yes, it is indeed. Okay, looks like we're all here. So then I'm gonna go to the fillet function right here. And then I'm gonna fillet all these edges on the dumbbell, on the pedestal we just made. And then I'm gonna make this fillet 0.25 inches. Yeah, you made me say dumbbell. It's supposed to be a pedestal. So then once you have the edges of this pedestal selected, make the radius 0.25 and just hit OK. So what we can do now is we don't need these work planes and this axis anymore because we already did what we need with them. So I can click it, right click it, and then there should be a pop-up that says visibility, and I'm just gonna disable the visibility. Okay, we're done with this part. We can go save it as stand with cube or whatever you want, really. And we can move on to mates. So does everyone have the blockhead that we made on day one? But we're gonna move on to the assembly now. So then now, instead of going to parts, when we go to new, we're gonna make a new assembly. So I'm gonna click new up here, and then instead of going to standard IPT, I'm gonna go to standard IAM. So we're gonna go to place component up here, and then I'm gonna place the block base that we just made. And then hit escape. So I'm gonna right click on this part, and then I'm gonna go to grounded right here. So If I go hover over this thing I placed in the assembly right now, I can just move it around wherever I want, and that's not what I want. So I want it to not move, because this is what my assembly is going to be based on. I don't want this to move. So I'm going to right click it, and then it should get this menu, and then I should have an option down here that says grounded right here. So I'm going to select it, and it should now not move. When I try to move it, it should just stay still. So now I have this grounded stand. I'm going to place the blockhead, the day one blockhead part. So I'm just going to double click it and then place it again like I did the stand. So then now we have this moving blockhead face and this stationary stand. I'm going to go to constrain right up here. I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to constrain this face to this face. So I'm going to do it again. So when you select the face, you'll see an arrow pointing away from the face that you're selecting. And if you select an edge, you'll see an arrow that goes along the edge. So I want to select the faces. So I want the arrow to face away from the blockhead. I'm going to click that. And then I'm going to click the face of the cube. And mine's also upside down. So we can constrain that later. So I'm going to hit apply, and it should move around like that. So to get the blockhead to not be upside down, because that's not what we want, I'm going to go pan to the bottom of it, and then I should see the top of the blockhead right here. Does everyone have this view where I have here, where I can click the face of the top of the blockhead and then go back to the top and then hit the top of the cube and then flip it? So right now, this blockhead can go anywhere. It can go all the way back there and not even touch my cube. So I don't want that. So what I can do is I can go back home, and then I can go constrain the face of this blockhead and the face of the cube right here, and then hit OK. And the assembly cannot be solved. That's great. Come on, work with me here. There we go. So what I did right there was it gave me an error when I selected the faces. That shouldn't have happened, but this program hates me. So, oh wait, so if you select the flush constraint, it won't give you that error that I got. So the point of this is to make it so everything is constrained properly. When everything is constrained properly, you shouldn't be able to move anything. So I can't move this blockhead or the stand at all. We're gonna put blockheads on all four sides of this cube. So if you've already finished the first step, then select this blockhead face, Control C and Control V it, and then put it on the other side. So I'm just gonna do that quickly here. It's just the same thing, we're just doing the same thing again. So I'm just gonna constrain the face of this blockhead to the face of this stand cube. I'm gonna hit apply and click the face of this cube and the face of the top of the blockhead. And I'm gonna flip it. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the top. So I'm gonna click the top and the top here. And it should auto select the flush. If it does not, then it will give you an error. So then make sure you select the flush right here, not this one, and then apply. And you should have another face of the blockhead that does not move. So this one should not move at all. So if you did all four, you can save it and we can move on to the next thing. Okay, it looks like we're all here. So we can now save this. We can name it whatever you want. I'm just gonna name it stand with blockhead. It's going to give me this menu, and I'm going to say yes or okay. And we can now move to the next portion of this class. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do constraints with pipes. So if we've all saved this, we can make, so we're going to make a new part here. So the next thing we're going to do is pipes and constraints with circular objects. So we're going to need parts to make an assembly. So we're going to start, I'm going to start a new 2D sketch on the XY plane. So I'm going to go to circle, and then I'm going to make a circle in the middle of my sketch that is a 1/4 inch in diameter, so 0.25 inches. And then I'm going to make a line. And when I go on this circle, I should see yellow dots appear, and it should kind of just snap into place. So I'm going to make a line that goes directly across my circle, like that. So we're going to finish this sketch, and we're going to extrude this out. So as my profile, I'm going to select one of these half circles, and then it's going to default it to 1 inch, and that's what we want. So just hit OK, and we're just going to make a half semicircle, like a cylinder that's missing half of it, half of the cylinder. And I'm going to save this part as half pipe. So now we're going to make a new part. So I'm going to hit new, and we're going to make the outer pipe. So we're going to start a new sketch on the XY plane again. So we're going to go to circle, and we're going to make it, let's see, 1/2 inch. So I made this circle in the middle. I'm going to go to dimension, and then I'm going to make it 1/2 inch, so 0.5. So then now we're going to use offset. So then now that we have this outer circle, we're going to offset it inside. So I'm going to click offset, and then I'm going to click this outer circle here, and then drag it inwards. And then you see I get this purple line that I can drag around, and a number that comes across it. So I'm going to drag this inward. I'm going to type in 0.1 inches, and then hit enter. And it should look something like this. Yep, okay, so we can finish the sketch, and we can extrude it by 1 inch. So I'm just going to go hit extrude, click on the outer ring, not the inner ring, but the outer ring of this circle, of this donut, and then it should default the distance to 1 inch. Then I'm just going to click OK. So I should have this pipe looking thing, and we're going to save this as outer pipe. Or pasta. I already have outer pipe. So now we're going to make another assembly. So we're going to hit new up here, and then we're going to click standard IAM to make a new assembly. So we're going to go ahead and place another part. So we're going to place what we just made, which was whatever you named it. I named it pasta. You may name it a different thing. So double click it. So all I have here is I placed my outer pipe in my assembly, and that's it. We're just going to ground this again like we did in the other assembly. So I'm going to right click it, and then I'm going to go to ground, and I'm going to ground it so it no longer moves. So now that we have this pipe constrained or grounded in our assembly, we can now add the half pipe. So I'm just going to go to place, and I'm going to place this half pipe .ipt into my assembly. So I'm just going to place it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make it flush. So if we constrain the face of this and the face of this, if I click flush, not that, then it will be, if I click opposed, it will be directly facing away from it. If I click flush, it'll be on the inside. So you don't need to do this. And then if we want it opposed, we can go to constrain and we can click this face and this face. And then now they're on opposite sides of each other. So then now what I'm going to do is I've already made that constraint. So I'm going to click this plus here. And then if I, let's say, made a constraint from here to here, and I clicked OK, there would be a new mate here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the mate, all the mates that I made, and start from scratch, basically. So it should be able to move freely again. And then, so what we're going to do is we're going to constrain, and we're, instead of doing the mate here, the flush mates, we're going to go over here and do insert. So I'm going to click the circular face of this half pipe, and then I'm going to click the circular face of this curved surface of this pipe, and it should constrain them together like this. So this right now is opposed, and this right now is aligned. So this would be aligned, and this would be opposed. And what we have done here is we've constrained the axes together. So I constrained the axis of the outer pipe, the axis of the inner pipe. So if I select in aligned right now, and I click OK, since the axis is selected, I can now rotate this inner pipe, and the outer pipe should stay stationary. You can also, if you don't want it to rotate, we can open up this plus menu and right click this insert mate and then hit edit. And if we click lock rotation, then it will not move. So you can do different things. You can have it move and you can have it not move. Another thing we could do is, instead of having flushed or opposed mates, we can also do offsets. So if I want it halfway in between, so I don't want it flush, but I don't want it opposed, I can do a offset. So I can go back, right click it, and go edit. And then on offset, I can do 0.5 inches. And then now it's not flush or aligned. It's just in the middle. So I hit OK. Now it will be halfway, it will be a lock rotation half pipe within this bigger pipe, but it's in the middle of, they're in the middle of each other. You can save it as an assembly, and you can just save it. I just name it pipe mate. We can save it. And that should be the end of this class.
So if you guys don't have any more questions, we're gonna end it here. I hope you guys had fun over the past couple of days and learned something new. I certainly did. And if this interested you, you keep learning by yourselves and have fun with it. See you guys.